As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission, I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain, keep on working, open curtains. Haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up, fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah. Cause this is my road. Let's camera action.
You're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, your home for community radio.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Tom Ficklin Radio Show. I want to just thank my guests for accepting this invitation. My name is Arden Santana. I am a founder and executive board member of Communities for Generation, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to restore shared values and connect resources to build lasting communities. At Communities for Generations, we envision a world where all residents of underserved neighborhoods feel valued, connected, and empowered to build prosperous communities for generations to come. I'm here with some esteemed guests today. We're here to talk about community economic development. Again, thank you, Tom, for what this invitation is actually an opportunity to be able to do one of the things that I love, which is to educate about civic literacy and actually word literacy in the realm of writing and language arts as an educator in public schools across the United States, actually, in my time. I'm currently the founder of Independent Alternative to Public School, to Traditional Choices, located in New Haven County. Let's see, we have with us today Mustafa Abdul Salaam, representing the Washington, D.C. Ward 8 Community Economic Development Plan, Jorge Lopes, representing the West River Self-Help Initiative Plan, right here in our very own New Haven. We have Katurah Bryant, who is representing Newhallville Hamden Strong, which is a community, a civic organization based in the Dixwell, Newhallville area in Hamden of Connecticut. So I'm going to allow you all to introduce yourselves first. And when you introduce yourself, just tell us your company or organization, define community economic development, and share it in the context of what your organization is doing in that regard.
Okay. Would you like for me to start?
Yes, please.
Okay. My name is Mustafa Abdul Salaam, and I'm facilitator for the Ward 8 Community Economic Development planning process that has now implemented the DC Digital Collective. Community economic development, in a very brief presentation around it, is a broader concept in just economic development in general. It talks about residents being able to focus on their needs, whether it be affordable housing, livable wage jobs, good health care and education, as opposed to the city government increasing their taxes or developers making more of a profit. So community economic development talks about the wealth building opportunities that community have when they focus on economic development as opposed to social service delivery.
Thank you. Jorge?
Yes, again, my name is Jorge Lopes. I am the assistant treasurer for West River Self-Help Investment Plan, Worship, and community economic development sounds like exactly what we are doing here at West River SHIP, where again, it's a church-based organization, comes out of Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church in New Haven. We started this journey back in 2001, and what we wanted to do and what we're still doing and we hope to continue to do is to get the community involved into profit, investment or, situations so that they can reap the benefits that our people have so long tried to do.
Thank you. Katurah?
Good morning and peace and blessings. My name is Katurah Bryant, and I was a member of and am a member of the steering committee for the Newhallville Hamden Stronger Together committee. And it really was initially it was just an ad hoc committee to preserve the neighborhood of the border between Newhallville on the New Haven side and Newhallville on the Hamden side, when the community was presented with a serious threat to the housing stock, to the economy, to basically our way of living and any future lifestyle that we had envisioned for ourselves for generations. We came about as a result of the idea of a methadone maintenance program coming into a residential community. And so the whole energies and our ideas around economic development for the neighborhood, we recognize that housing is one of the ways that families can generate wealth and have generational wealth. That's usually the foundation for a lot of people, is that their housing stock is their generational wealth. And we knew that if we as citizens from truly, it was a grassroots initiative, that we knew that as citizens, we were the ones that were going to have to save our neighborhood, that we did not look for politicians, we did not look for anything outside of ourselves, other than ourselves, to make sure that our neighborhood maintained its integrity and continued to have an opportunity to grow and develop.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing and what I want to emphasize about everyone's introductions is that we're all doing the same work in community economic development. And what's the common thread is that we're doing the same work, but the purpose of bringing you all together is to emphasize the importance of the collaboration that this work is grounded in within your unique organizations. But even by the end of this program, I'm hoping that we are able to show our listeners and be able to determine amongst ourselves where it is that our collaboration lies to move forward and continue doing this work. The other piece that's important to mention is the grassroots nature of it. All of these approaches are bottom up, and their approach meaning that it's the residents in the community involved that's doing the work, that's at the helm of this work. And Katurah's organization, we're going to get into it a little bit later, but what Katurah is going to hopefully be able to explain to us is how it is that how we respond in the Newhallville Hamden Strong responded to a crisis in a way that was effective. They were civically engaged, civically literate, organized, and with all of this, it takes time. It takes time. And I think actually Hamden Strong did something in record time, because 2 years is not long in the grand scheme of things. But each of these organizations, the work that you're doing has taken time. So we're going to start with George, who's representing again the West River Self-Help Initiative Plan, who's worked along with a group of people. They have their recent groundbreaking after 20 years of planning. Mustafa is the founder of the DC Ward 8 Community Economic Development planning process, which he's been working on over the past decade, right, Mustafa?
Yes, yes, right.
And he's currently consulting my organization, Communities for Generations, which is a nonprofit recently founded. And it's because we endorsed the plan for its viability and sustainability, and have initiated implementation for New Haven's underserved communities. And we heard that Mama Katurah has been instrumental in the victory that Newhallville Hamden Strong achieved after 2 years of civic engagement and protests against the App Foundation relocating to the neighborhood. George, talk a little bit about the implanters. Your organization is influenced by, I would really like, bear with me, you all, while I just try to, I'm going to share this. Here we go. Good. Okay. Your organization is influenced by Leon Sullivan, coming out of Washington, D.C. It's a very powerful story, everyone here. This is a very powerful influence on this work. The Sullivan, he's a civil rights activist, a minister. He's done extensive work in civil rights internationally. That's actually what's impressive about his work. He fought for self-help, built the first Black-owned shopping center and 2 human service centers to address residents' needs. What's really appealing is that he established the International Foundation for Education and Self-Help, and has done extensive work in South Africa. So what this says to us is that this work is applicable to not just, you know, the neighborhoods which we're working in, but any underserved, underrepresented, impoverished, disproportionately impacted neighborhood from domestically or internationally could benefit from this work. I'm curious, just talk a little bit about that influence, George, briefly.
Sure. What we at West River Ship started this journey actually, you know, based on Reverend Dr. Leon Sullivan's 1036 plan. That's what he called it in his congregation. And the whole premise about that is to get the congregation to put their money together in order to raise enough funds to initiate, you know, housing projects, shopping centers, and other business enterprises, where they contributed $10 per month for 36 months. Reverend Sullivan's idea for the plan was taken from the experience of Jesus feeds the 5,000 from John chapter 6, verses 1 to 14, in which there is found the concept of sharing resources. And in 1994, Reverend Sullivan developed the Self-Help Investment Plan as an evolution of the 1036 plan, with the basis of providing individuals associated with economically and socially disadvantaged areas the opportunity to invest in profit-making ventures in the U.S. and to a limited extent in Africa and Arden. I didn't know all that information that you brought up, and I appreciate that for you doing that. The SHIP initiative is structured to pursue investment opportunities in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and private ventures. As a result, as you mentioned, Arden, the historic Sullivan Progress Plaza in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania was created and became the first shopping center in America built, owned, and operated by African Americans. With West River Self-Help Investment Plan, as you mentioned, in New Haven, we're a community, Connecticut community-based investment group incorporated in October 31st, 2001, with 21 original members, and which is managed by its members under an operating agreement based on the Reverend Dr. Leon Sullivan's self-help principles. The late Reverend Dr. Curtis M. Cofield, former pastor of Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church in New Haven, embraced the concept, thus the creation of West River Self-Help Investment Plan, with Reverend Cofield becoming its first president. Currently, we have Anthony Dawson as our president, and his leadership brought us to where we're at right now. Reverend Cofield's legacy continues as our first project is named after him, the Reverend Curtis M. Cofield II Estates, which consists of 56 affordable apartments, not market value. The groundbreaking occurred, as Arden mentioned, on March 28th, 2024, with almost 200 in attendance. And we anticipate the completion of the project by the end of 2025.
Awesome. Mustafa, would you share, so who has been your influence? Who's influenced and inspired you in your community economic development work?
Okay. Let me commend the other panelists for their efforts, and I think what the West River Project really demonstrates the real potential in New Haven to be able to move from just being consumers to being developers. So I appreciate that model that you guys are creating, and the work that Katurah has been just being an advocate, for your own best interests, because without advocating, for the things that you need as a community, nobody's going to come to your defense. And for years, they thought it was just very easy to plug something down in our communities that nobody else wanted, and we accepted. So I commend the work that you guys have done, because it gives us a serious message to everyone that the community, you just can't walk into the community. So, and Arden, I appreciate your leadership, and the effort you guys are doing around taking community economic development and really placing it in the community in a way that people can see it as the tool or the vehicle to get us out of poverty, and begin to really have more control of our community, and really be able to provide the kind of future for our children that really is our top priority. So, and this conversation is really about that. It's really, how do we develop in the next 5, 10, 20 years so our children can have a platform of economic opportunities to continue to, grow and thrive. So thank you for bringing me on this call. And I'm a product of New Haven, Connecticut.
Actually, before you go into answer my question, I want to jump in and piggyback and say that the news of what happened in West River actually came. I'm not sure. I'm probably detached more from the news than I should be, as someone who loves civics, and we know that the media plays a strong role in civic engagement. But the news came just because I have folks sharing things in my inbox, and I get this newsletter, I want to say from Yale, that announced the West River plan. And so I'm reading through, and not only did the work, the project itself capture my attention, and I didn't know about it, but a family member of mine was instrumental, in this work. Jerry Poole is my cousin. Oh, and wow. I'm reading through this and I'm saying, this is a shame, like the fragmentation that exists in our communities. I guess I want to share this just as an example of the level of fragmentation that exists in our communities, to the point where I'm not in communication enough with my paternal family to know that they're working on something of this magnitude. They don't know that I am in the trenches in Dixwell, Newhartville, working on something, just as magnificent. And that we should be working together because we're family, first and foremost, and secondarily, because we're in the same neighborhood, and eventually we're in the same community, right? So we're in separate neighborhoods, but ideally, Black people in Connecticut, underserved people in Connecticut, are a community by definition. So it was impressive, and it was just another way. It made it clear to me who I would invite on this show. What did I want to talk about, and why did I want to accept Tom's invitation, and, like I said, an opportunity. So I'm going to allow Mustafa now to just share a bit about who influenced your community economic development work.
Yes, growing up in New Haven, I had a firsthand reality around how communities change overnight. New Haven is known as the model city for urban renewal, and that reflects the whole country. mainly because Yale had the influence and the capacity to actually shape the urban renewal plan for the federal government as early as the late 1940s. And that plan was designed to create an environment where Yale and the businesses downtown were the focal point, because up to 1950s, downtown New Haven was a slum, had a lot of slums. Italians, Jews, blacks, because they lived in the alleyways and the places that they could find a place to live, basically. So the plan was designed to really clean up downtown, make Yale easier for people to come to Yale and want to go to school, and the alumni would put money in the school, and downtown businesses could have a cleaner environment. What it also did is, and this is again across the country because this is the model, part of the removal was removing Black people from their places that were close enough to downtown that it became a threat. So I grew up in that environment in the late 50s and 60s, and it made a big impression on me because it didn't seem it was right that you could just destroy people's communities, and for only reason because you wanted to do something different. So and then as I matured and got into education, I tried to get into areas that could help me figure out why urban communities in particular had this phenomena. And it just got me to a place where through education process and employment, I created more of an understanding of urban dynamics and how communities function. And a lot of my professional efforts have been in this area of human service delivery, with exposing most to the system. So it gave me a real overview of what was happening in ways that was multiple disciplines that most people don't really approach the area of dealing with communities. So when I got to DC, I came down to run a child welfare agency, and did that for a couple of while, and it gave me really a good lay of the land in DC. And then decided that I wanted to really work with the community because I actually saw gentrification coming, 15 years ago, when the community that is in DC that I'm working in was the place that the Homeland Security consolidated all their activity throughout the country, which was a major project. 15,000 people were going to be employed. They created all kinds of new structures in the community. So, but with that comes the threat to the community, increasing cost to live, and people who are poor being displaced. And that happens throughout the country. It happened in the earlier part when urban renewal came, and now we call it gentrification, but it's the same, phenomena. And from what I know in New Haven and the influence that Yale has on New Haven, gentrification, there's a second wave of urban renewal going on in New Haven, and that's true across the country because inner cities are becoming very valuable for a number of reasons. And if you can afford to live in cities, those who can are being attracted. So knowing that, DC became an opportunity for me to apply all the things I've learned coming out of New Haven and other environments to try to craft a way for the residents to have a voice around community economic development that they normally don't have. So this report right here represents over 1,000 residents in Ward 8 being interviewed through a survey, over 20 town hall meetings, and the report is a 90-page document that really identifies the priorities and the wishes of the community. So when we engage city government or developers, we're not sitting at the table responding to their agenda or their plan. We now have our plan as a community that they have to respond to, and we can be proactive with. And that's the key to really countering gentrification, because if you don't have a strategy, they definitely have one for you. And so thank you for sharing that cover, because it really was a unique opportunity for the community to create a document that is not only high quality, but has all the information that anybody who is sincere about wanting to have the community can use that documentation to come in and support the community in ways that improve the quality of life for the residents, but particularly the children. So that's the focal point.
Awesome. And it's duplicatable. It's able to be reiterated in any neighborhood that wants to do this work. So West River, George, is the plan happens east of the river, within the boundaries of Chapel Street, Day Street, Legion Avenue, Winthrop and Davenport Avenues, just for our folks who might want to understand that. And then ironically, the Ward 8, the DC Ward 8 Community Economic Development Plan originates out of east of the river in DC. I'm just curious, is there any geopolitical significance about the location of these communities and why bottom-up approach, why bottom-up development is a solution or idea for them?
Well, the parcel of land that we are developing on, and Mustafa mentioned about, our people were living in certain areas, and all of a sudden, all the houses were demolished. Urban renewal, and that strip of land from El Grasso Boulevard to 95, pretty much, was all demolished. There was houses there and whatnot. Matter of fact, when there was some remediation that we had to do on our property, because after they started digging it up, they found all kinds of contamination and whatnot. Thank God we took care of that and whatnot. But we, West River, saw that, figured this is an opportunity for us to do something in this land that has been vacant for 50 years, give or take. And it took us 20 years pretty much to get I shouldn't say that. When Mayor Hawk became mayor, she's the one that helped us navigate through the politics. And our current mayor, continued, guiding us. So again, without their help, we couldn't have done it. But I have to mention that we as West River SHIP, we're not in this alone. There's no way we could have done that alone. What we did is we partnered with the NHP Foundation, National Housing Partnership Foundation out of New York. And if I can just tell you a little bit about them, as I mentioned, this project would not have happened without our partners. Our partner, the National Housing Partnership Foundation. NHP Foundation is a nonprofit real estate organization dedicated to preserving and creating sustainable, self-enriched multifamily housing that is both affordable to low and moderate income families and seniors and benefits their communities. We couldn't ask for a better partner, and we thank them for their help and guidance and look forward to our next projects.
Thank you. Mustafa?
Yes.
East River.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
purpose and why.
You mentioned the river concept, or why the similarities, and I think historically, the way decisions were made that Black people were more victims of than being involved with it, it usually tended to be what land was disposable or had least value. And as George mentioned, the space now where in New Haven that the project is building on was a part of the initial urban renewal design, and it was just to get rid of the eyesores. The housing decision was not about making sure everybody had housing. It was making sure that those housing that created eyesores for institutions in the business community were eliminated, particularly if they were represented in the Black community. Same is hold true in DC. The area that we're living, that I'm working in, it was really the dumping ground for poor Black people in DC. And the split between the community and what is known as, I guess, is proper DC, where the Capitol is and the White House is on this other side of this river called the Anacostia River. So it's known that that is the divide between affluent DC and the poor DC. And the public policies of the last 60 years or 70 years was to make east of the river, where it's like 90% Black, the dumping ground for predominantly Black people, but definitely people who had limited resources. And so I think whether it's New Haven, Hartford, DC, they have these communities that are reflective of the structural racism that has existed in this country over the last 400 years.
Perfect. That's a perfect segue to my next question, which is actually for Katurah, because we're talking about dumping grounds. And I think we could metaphorically see the App Foundation being placed on Dixwell Avenue in between New Haven and Hamden as a sort of dumping ground situation that the community did not want. So Katurah, can you talk a little bit about, responding to crisis versus being proactive, and how were the residents mobilized to basically gain the victory that you did? App will not be in the Dixwell Newhallville area.
This is so true. First, we need to, I want to recognize the leadership of Jeanette Sykes. She was and is the president of the steering committee. And I think that people do not recognize there has been a shift, and there always has been in Newhallville. It's always been a very interesting piece of land. We recognize as homeowners in that neighborhood that we're that it is prime real estate. We are juxtaposition between all of the universities and colleges within the city. We're within a 3-mile walking radius of downtown New Haven. We can get to from the border of Newhallville, from Bassett Street, we will say, because I've walked that distance so many times, that it's a 3-mile walk from Bassett Street to the New Haven Green. It's a 3-mile walk from Bassett Street to State Street, which means that you're going to go through Yale University, you're going to go through East Rock neighborhood, you're going to go through Albertus Magnus College. It's a 3-mile walk radius to Hamden Plaza. And Southern Connecticut State University is in the heart of the community as well. So we're in a serious situation where we recognize the value of where we sit. And we also recognize what has been going on in our community without our permission, without our input, without anything. And this App Foundation situation was a prime example of, them having the right to purchase land or property within wherever they had funds, and they chose to purchase property on Dixwell Avenue at 794 Dixwell Avenue. And it was interesting because that particular piece of property also included the property on the Hamden side. So you had Hamden residents that were concerned about that, and you had the Newhallville residents that was most concerned about that. We didn't find out about this. It wasn't like anybody came to us, city or anybody came to us, even our alderman, and said, look, this is the proposed property purchase, and this is what is going to move in. Everybody at first did this, said, I didn't know anything about it. And it was through community pooling our resources that we find out, okay, that's not really true. So, but that's water over the dam. So we have to be the voice. We have to let folks know what we want in our community. And it was a core group. We started off with a lot of people. We didn't find out about this until in the Independent. There's an article in January, like mid-January, that said that the App Foundation had purchased this building on Dixwell Avenue and was going to bring their methadone programs, plural, their methadone programs from Long Wharf and from the Hill. And we recognize the devastation of the homes and the property values that has happened in the Hill as a result of that neighbor relationship, which was not good. And we were like, no, we will not. And people were saying, we will chain ourselves to the door first. We will lay our bodies on the ground first. That is the tenacity that drove this community. And it was a core group that made up the steering committee that was part Hamden and part New Haven residents. We had our first civic rally in front of that building in February. Mind you, February for Black and Brown people to come out on the coldest day of the year, and there were over 100 citizens there. The Hamden mayor, she had the liberty to pledge support of what we were saying. Our New Haven mayor, he pledged that he would do the very best that he could to hear us and to try to figure this situation out. And I really think that historically, I think everybody was counting on waiting it out, because historically, you're in these depressed neighborhoods, you don't really have the energy to continue to fight this. And we went out in all prongs. We engaged our political people, the citizens. It was a lot of civic engagement and education, flyers and petitions and all those things, and meetings every other week to educate this community and the community at large. Look, this is what this means. For you that live in this circumference, we never ever said that there was not a need for treatment. We said that there was not a need to put such a business in this kind of a neighborhood. So we had, all of our representatives, Representative Tony Walker, Representative Robin Porter, who also represents parts of Hamden in her state representation district. We had Senator Gary Winfield. We had our alder people. We went to every management team in the city of New Haven and got an endorsed letter from each and every one of those communities. So this was not just a Newhallville issue. This was a community issue. This was a Hamden issue for all of the citizens of Hamden. And their entire council board, which I guess is equivalent to our Board of Aldermen, sent a letter of endorsement for this not to happen. We got the mere fact that we could get every management team, all 10 management teams in the city of New Haven, which represents all of New Haven, all of the voters of New Haven, to give us a letter of endorsement. We had over 1,700 petitions. We went to the state of Connecticut. We talked to everybody that would allow us half a second to get in the door. And we have to give thanks to this platform, Tom Ficklin, Babs, Paul Bass, the New Haven radio programs that allowed us to come on to educate the community and to educate the community as to what we were facing and how it was not an appropriate setting for our neighborhood, our residential neighborhood. And it was all about the children. It's like, I want my grandchildren to be able to walk to the park at the end of my street. Why not? But we knew, because there was a track record of what would happen to this neighborhood. A Yale student did her master's thesis looked at where methadone maintenance programs were held. We engaged people in Harlem. We engaged people in the city of Seattle. We engaged people from Portland, Oregon. We were all over the place, and we were loud, and that is what it takes. And this woman's research said exactly what Mustafa said and exactly what George said. It's a given that you can put whatever you'd like in our communities. Why? Because we are living in silos, which I believe is just a byproduct of that enslaved mentality. And that exposure for multiple generations of not trusting each other, because George is, he was within that 3-mile radius to be able to say it doesn't necessarily have to just be out of Emmanuel Baptist Church. There's a whole city out here. Or the thing that the model that Mustafa is talking about, we felt like we had a microcosm of that. We had the community economic development group out of New Haven that we understood it. And we were bringing all of these entities together to say, this is our neighborhood. This is where we live. This is our city. This will devastate the city of New Haven if this happens, because if our housing stock goes down, and we are, you're already redlined, and if it goes down any further, we will have nothing. And we understood the vision. We also understand the global vision for New Haven. And we also understand that we are a part of it, but we also understand that we can have a voice at that table and say, look, we are a voting bloc. We are a community. We can do certain things. And this we will not allow. And I think that has been the most empowering piece of what people have looked at. And it's ironic that we even got endorsements from West Haven, North Haven, right? Mm-hmm. So now the App Foundation has done the same thing in Guilford. They bought a piece of property in Guilford. And who did the Guilford community reach out to first? Was us, to say, what did you all do? How did you all do it? Although we had extended the invitation to everybody to support this effort that we were up against. And we were up against the big corporates.
I want to highlight what we've heard here from Katurah's case study, this testimony around what civic engagement is. The nature of collaboration, that it is coming together, it's protesting, it's petitioning, it's writing to your local officials, it's writing and communicating with newspapers. It is the work that we do behind the scenes when nobody's looking, if somebody's looking to be agents in what it is that we want in our communities and in our neighborhoods. I think we've heard everybody's why and the catalyst behind these movements. And I just want to reiterate that we're talking, each of these individuals are working in different segments of the city. But again, it's our end goal is the same. So I want to just take a minute to transition ourselves into what it is that next steps are for everyone here on this call. Our whys, Communities for Generations, we are actually on tomorrow, as a matter of fact, hosting our second annual New Hallville-Dixwell Community Economic Development Summit, which is one of our civic engagement efforts to implement these bottom-up community economic development models that obviously are viable and sustainable. I want to emphasize the time. Okay, we are looking at 10 and 20-year plans that have reached major milestones at this point. So New Haven is at the beginning of being able to have a model within which we can work with. I'm excited to have heard about, Leon Sullivan and to be inspired by that work, because I'm a huge supporter. I understand the significance in boycotts. But this idea about selective, boycotting with a condition, that's how you collaborate and negotiate and truly come to equitable and diverse terms of agreement within a diverse situation. So we just want to, bring Dixwell New Hallville's attention specifically to an opportunity you have to have a seat at the table, to come and have your voice heard, to operate within a community economic development plan that puts you at the top, at the center, where what it is that your needs, priorities, and concerns for your community will drive every step that it is that is happening. And I also want to reiterate that we're not at all coming in as an organization to say, to do anything different. Okay, our purpose is to be the connector. of individuals, organizations, businesses, groups like George's, because we can go fast alone, but we can go farther together. Okay, we no longer need to work in these silos. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't want to experience burnout. We want to be able to do this work in a way that is enjoyable. The education is very important. So we need our elders to connect with our youth. We need our youth to teach our elders. It's a reciprocal relationship. And all this work is for the long-term gain. So in our quickly approaching in conclusion and last minutes, I want to just give you all a few minutes to talk about what the next steps are in your community economic development plan. Let's start with Mustafa, and then George, you'll finish that. You'll close that question for us. You're muted, Mustafa.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. We're in the implementation stage, and we're now have 2 years of funding to look at ways of implementing the priorities that the community identified that are really priorities that can move the community to the next level. Making sure that we have stable housing and affordable housing that everybody in the community can have access to. And more important, to move away from poverty and focus more on wealth. And those strategies that can enhance our individual wealth and our collective wealth is the key, because most of our social issues are related to poverty. When you don't have the resources to move beyond just survival, it just creates other dynamics. And so that's what we've seen as Black people. When we have the economic means, we change our environment, we change our reality. So the economic piece is key, but up to this point, we've done, the society has separated individual human development and economic development in a way that has put, particularly poor Black people in a very difficult situation, because it keeps us in the culture of poverty, and that becomes the whole focal point of the community. And whether it's New Haven, DC or whatever, we spent the last 6 years focusing on poverty as a way of bringing income into the community, and that's was the way it was structured. So for us to recognize that means that we're putting more emphasis and more energy into creating economic entities, and expanding entrepreneurship as an important theme, particularly with our children. We have to become owners as opposed to just consumers. So this digital collective is a way of doing that through a membership association. Our goal is to recruit anywhere between 20 to 30,000 residents, which is a base of influence politically, because you can elect mayors and councilmen or unelect them, with that number. So that's power, and that power will allow us to shape public policy to make sure that we have access to the resources. So it's strategically and structurally positioning the community to be more focused on wealth building and using our numbers and our votes to make sure that we have the resources to do that.
Okay, thank you, George. I'm getting our cues. We're down to 5 minutes. So George, what are your next steps? And at the end, please leave any contact information you would like listeners to have to be able to reach out.
Okay, great. Well, listen, Mustafa said pretty much everything that we're looking to accomplish. And I like the idea that you mentioned of putting us together and whatnot, because it's hard to do anything. And we know as West River SHIP, we couldn't have done it without the partnership with NHP. Already we're in discussion with a number of projects that I can't have no current information nailed down yet, but we're in talks. We're trying to look at our next projects. We already have a discussion with NHP, and we're also looking for other partners also. But it's important to us to go ahead and duplicate and continue to duplicate the things that we're doing. And hopefully, it won't be another 20 years because I may not be around. But anyways, our main goal is to create generational wealth for our children, our beneficiaries, our members, and you know, it would be nice if our current members can reap some of the benefits too. But again, the whole premise of this wasn't about just us; it was about the people that we love and the community that we love.
Thank you. Any contact information you'd like to share?
Sure. If you're interested, please give me a call at 203-773-9930. And you can email me at lopes.associates@gmail.com. That's LOPES.associates with an S @gmail.com. Look forward to hearing anybody and be glad to get you any information that you need.
Mustafa, any contact information you'd like to leave quickly? 15 seconds.
Yes, our website is w8ced.org. It talks about how we got here, and it actually has a way that you can download a report to read the full report. So I encourage people to go into w8ced.org, and that will give you information about the project.
That's W8 CED, communityeconomicdevelopment.org. Katurah?
Just like to state that where we are now, we recognize that this situation that we have is not over, because someone did buy the building, which is Clifford Beers. They did buy the building, and we are very much still engaged in the process of what is going to happen in this particular setting. And we're grateful that we have a mutual respect with Clifford Beers regarding how.
I need your contact information really quickly, because I need to finish up with just your contact information if there's any.
There is, just go to our Facebook page, Hamden, New Haven, Newhallville, Hamden Stronger.
Thank you.
Facebook.
Sorry about that. And just in closing, I would like to say Communities for Generations is there for you to scan the button if you're to scan and register for the summit if you haven't already, if you're a resident or other stakeholder in the Dixwell, Newhallville neighborhoods. Our next steps are informed by the summit, which we'll be having. Ideally, we're planning for high stakeholders to address issues raised by the community survey, which we'll be taking during that summit. Next steps will be informed by a review of the results of the survey that's going to be taken at the summit. We'll also be vetting leadership for steering committees for key areas of the planning process, such as data management, community surveying, and steering committees established for steering committees to be established. In closing, I just want to say that we're all on different paths, heading in the same direction. Get involved, connect with us, and let's build together. Thank you all for coming on the show. This has been great. I hope we can do it again, because clearly we haven't had enough time and we have lots to talk about. Listeners, thank you for spending this hour of your Friday morning with us. We appreciate you, New Haven. We appreciate you, DC. We appreciate you, world.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job. Thank you.
George, Tom told me to tell you hello. It's been a while.
Yes. He was the co-chairman here in my ward. I'm the moderator. Yeah, he's a great guy. Tell him I said hello.